Good morning, everyone, and welcome. We're so glad you could join us for today's important session, Maximize Revenue, Support Families, Step Up for Students Explained. My name is Dr. Glenn Mort, and I have the privilege of serving as the Executive Director here at the Florida Association for Child Care Management, or FACM. For those who may not be so familiar with us, FACM is a professional membership organization dedicated to ensuring quality and best business practices in the child care industry through advocacy, education, and accreditation. Today's webinar is all about making sure you have access to the tools and information you need to help families thrive while also supporting your business's sustainability and growth. But before we dive in today, I just want to share a few quick housekeeping notes about today's session. This webinar is being recorded for future use, and since this is a Zoom webinar, you are all participants, which means you are automatically muted. So if you have questions about today's presentation, I encourage you to please use the Q&A or the chat feature at the bottom of your screen. We will have a dedicated Q&A portion later in the session, but feel free to submit your questions at any time. And now, I'm thrilled to introduce to you our guest speaker. Melissa Jaramillo is the manager of provider development at Step Up for Students. Melissa has been with the organization for over 15 years and works very closely with providers across Florida to support and grow their programs. Melissa is passionate about helping families access quality educational options and loves creating strong partnerships along the way. So with that, Melissa, thank you for being with us today, and I'll turn it over to you.
Thank you so much, Henry, and Glenn, for having me here today. Um, and I want to thank everyone that is taking time out of their day to learn more about how you can work with our different scholarship programs. So I am going to just take a moment and share my presentation, and we will get started this morning. Okay, are you all able to see my screen okay? Perfect. So thank you. Thank you for those thumbs up. Alrighty. As I mentioned, today we're going to be doing an overview as how you as an early learning provider basically can be able to offer services through our various scholarship programs. Just to give a little bit of a background for you all, Step Up for Students, those of you that don't know, is a state-approved nonprofit scholarship organization. We have been administering several different scholarship programs throughout the state of Florida. And today we're just going to discuss the top three programs that tie into what you all do on a day-to-day basis. And again, our mission with these scholarships is to empower families to pursue and engage the most appropriate learning options for their children. We are number one in the nation for school choice, and we are so blessed to be able to have that opportunity for our families in Florida. Okay, so today the top three scholarships that we're going to be discussing is going to be the PEP Scholarship, known as the Personalized Education Program, the Unique Abilities Scholarship for students with unique abilities, and also the New Worlds Scholarship Accounts. We're going to discuss a little bit about how you can tie your services directly with each of these programs and what that means for you as a business to access choice with these scholarships as a revenue source. Okay. And again, feel free to visit our website for more information when it comes to these scholarships to go a little bit more in depth. But I do want to give a brief overview about these three scholarships and how they work. The Unique Abilities Scholarship serves students ages 3 through 12th grade. And the requirement for eligibility is that a student has to have one of the eligible diagnoses for the program. Some of those diagnoses may include things such as ADHD, dyslexia, autism, spina bifida, and more. And these students have the opportunity to use their scholarship for home education, so a homeschool setting, or a private school setting. The next scholarship that we have is the PEP program. As I mentioned, it's called the Personalized Education Program. This one is for students kindergarten through 12th grade who are not enrolled in a full-time private or public school, so meaning they are solely using this scholarship for home education. And finally, the New Worlds Scholarship Accounts. This program is for students VPK through fifth grade who are in public school and are needing additional support when it comes to math or reading. So again, that little blurb that you see at the bottom, with that this scholarship only allows families to use those dollars with direct pay providers. That is what you all will become if you choose to onboard with us, is become a direct pay provider where families are able to access those resources directly on our platform. Okay, so what does this mean for you as a business, as a learning center, to be able to access all these different choice scholarships as a revenue source? And how do you go about doing that? So we're going to go through some of those tips for you and just provide you a little more guidance how that works. Just to give you an idea, in 24-25 school year, there's going to be over $1 billion in scholarships that won't be used to pay full-time tuition at an eligible private school. So what does that mean for you all? That means that those leftover dollars that families did not use it towards private school tuition, they have those leftover funds to use for the additional resources that are available under the various scholarship programs. Just take a note, all of these scholarship programs that we administer are ESAs, which is education savings accounts, which gives families the flexibilities to use their scholarship dollars beyond private school tuition or homeschool curriculum. Now, you can join Step Up for Students as a direct provider to provide VPK or school readiness services to our scholarship students in those two scholarships that do offer VPKs age. And then also any of your educators that potentially work at your business, they could also be onboarded as part-time tutors to support scholarship students who need that extra help while also earning additional income. So at your centers, if you have a teacher that is interested in offering this part-time tutoring service to students, actually, any scholarship that we administer, including the ones not mentioned today, do cover part-time tutoring. So you can service any student that's on a scholarship seeking part-time tutoring under the program. Excuse me. You can also develop an after-school tutoring program that provides extra income for your teachers. So these are just some of the ideas of how you can tie in some of what you do into the scholarship dollars. We also have summer programs. That's another option for a service provider. Here's a QR code that provides more information about partnering with us to make a difference. Some of you might be serving, families already trust you with the children that you have at your facilities, and maybe their older siblings are not there with you, but they could use some of these additional services, such as an after-school program or a summer program or even tutoring. So just keep in mind that as you're exploring these various options, that you might even be able to access some of those siblings of those younger children that you are seeing at your centers. So feel free to take a picture of this QR code. It just provides a little bit more information, how you would partner with us, and it takes you also to our website is there where it provides you with additional resources. Okay, how can the funds be used? So this list is not a complete list of all our services, as I mentioned, but these would be some of the services that tie more alongside the lines with what you all provide. And as you see there under the yes, no answers, that will describe to you under that particular service category what scholarship program is acceptable to take that. So, for example, if you are going to do, as I mentioned, part-time tutoring, any of the scholarship programs, any student can use that. However, if we're looking at a part-time enrollment at an eligible private school, the New World's scholarship would not be able to use that because they're a public school only. Another thing I want to point out is we do have um, speech therapy as well as occupational and physical therapy as a service. So if you do have a therapist at your centers that would also be able to provide that particular service at your learning centers, that is another service that you could add under your business. Okay, so how do you start? What does that look like? You're interested. What's the next step? So the next step for that is we have a platform where all our families apply, as well as our providers and our private schools. It's called the Education Market Assistant, better known as Emma. So you would create your profile in Emma and create a business account. And then once you create your business account, we do have different videos, which I'll show you some links to those videos. Because if you do want to tie in some tutors or even some therapists into that business, there's an additional step to that. And again, anyone that is interested and needs that additional assistance or would like more one-on-one, feel free. You can book some time with me and I'm happy to guide you through that. Just for a little bit of information on how the funding works. So students' accounts are actually funded on a quarterly basis. So they have their dashboard, they have their login in Emma, and every quarter that they are funded, they will see what amount is left over for them to use it for those additional resources. So parents, again, reserve funds to pay for any participating provider directly. So just be aware when you are putting some of these amounts in for your different services, be sure to use amounts that are monthly amounts or by the hour if it's tutoring and things like that, not a yearly amount. Again, because students won't have that full year amount in their dashboard at the time. Now, once services are rendered, the provider can submit that invoice for payment, and payments take a few business days to deliver. So once parents are interested in coming to you as their service provider, they will generate a service order. So they're basically holding those funds, sending a service order to you, and then once the services are rendered, you're able to process that invoice to be paid. So that's how that works, and parents don't necessarily have to pay out of pocket. Now, there are some instances where parents can pay out of pocket for the service if they don't want to go directly through the portal, and then the parents themselves would seek reimbursement for that particular service. So I know you may be asking a bunch of things in your head right now. It's a lot of information, and you're wondering, well, is there a cost for me? Is there an additional step? Is there a little hidden caveat that we don't know about? And the answer is no. So it doesn't cost anything for you to become a provider. Our goal is to be able to expand our provider network so that our families across the state have more options. As we are serving in the 24-25 school year over 500,000 students, you can imagine that number will increase for 25-26. And so we need these additional providers around the state to be able to support our parents and provide these students with additional resources. Okay, here I'm going to just talk a little bit about a little in depth about how these accounts are created in Emma and the differences. So in Emma, there's certain service categories, as we mentioned before, the list of categories. There are some that will require a personal account. And if it's a personal account, it's more so if you're providing a tutoring service. You would create that personal account so that we could verify that tutor's credentials. So there is a list of credentials that are required if you are going to be a part-time tutor. And then that individual will attach themselves to the business account that was created. And again, we have those videos that do take you step by step through through that process. But again, I'm more than happy to support any of you all interested in creating that. So we're going to go over now, what are some of the category differences, which ones require that business account only, and which one requires a personal. So Just for a little feedback, the business account is the account that's going to handle all the accounting and billing. So this is where you will see your invoices. This is where you'll be able to attach a banking account where you'll be able to get paid for the services that you have rendered. And then your personal account, again, refers to just individuals who provide approved services that are going to be paid through a business. Some of the information that we have available for our providers is an external guide. So that's a QR code specifically for our part-time tutoring external guide. And we have external guides for all of our services that providers are able to offer. So what these external guides are intended for is because they provide you with the details as to what we require to process your service to get you approved. So, for example, with the part-time tutoring, there are some credentials that are going to need to be uploaded in your profile in order to get you approved. And then again, the QR code on the left side is a checklist for each of the service categories. So if you are looking to onboard with us to provide VPK services, what we would need to know is your contract with the Early Learning Coalition or school readiness, and we'll be able to verify that information. But you are also able to upload that at the time that you are creating your account. Okay, here's a big question, right? Am I able to be a provider for all the scholarship programs? So, as I mentioned, there are certain categories for certain programs that are eligible and some are not, like that chart that we saw earlier. Under the external guides that we just went through is a list of what scholarships are able to be used for that particular category. So when you're becoming interested in looking into some of the services that you wish to provide at your center, just be mindful of the actual scholarship programs that it can be covered for. Again, this is a great opportunity to educate the families that you're going to be working with that are coming to you for the service. You just want to make sure they're on that correct scholarship program to be able to use their funds for that particular service. And another opportunity is if you're already getting your wheels turning and thinking of parents that are at your centers that you know don't have these scholarships, you could guide them to our website to apply for the 25-26 scholarships. We are still open for most of our scholarships. The only scholarship that we are closed for is the PEP scholarship, which closed April 30th. But are open now if you wish to share with your families that you know would qualify for any of these scholarship programs. As I mentioned, here is our QR code for our YouTube channel. Now, again, you're going to find tons of different videos on our YouTube channel, some for families, some for our private schools, and some for our providers. The three videos that you're going to want to look for, the title of them are listed there. Those are the ones that are going to guide you through the various steps on how to create your business or your personal account depending on what services you are going to be providing. So please feel free to take a look at our YouTube channel. I always encourage my providers to also take a look at some of the family videos that we have available so that you do have that visibility, what the parents see, what the parents' world kind of looks like. And that way you're reinforced with the ability to assist those families as well if they do need help. Okay, so now that we've covered all of that information, here is our information as far as our service center, the hours that we are open, and we also have a live chat on our website. I do want to take the time now to answer questions and have open dialogue for anyone that just wants to kind of dive a little deeper and how this works to become a provider with our program. So thank you, Mr. Glenn.
Fantastic. Oh my gosh. Thank you so much, Melissa, for that incredibly informative presentation. But before we jump into the many questions that are lining up, I would also like to invite uh, somebody just like you, Mr. John Stover, who's one of FACM's board members, and he owns several FACM member schools, to say just a few words about his experience utilizing Step Up for Students. So, John, the floor is all yours.
All right. Thank you so much, Glenn. I really appreciate that. So just a quick background on me. I've got 10 preschools, and a couple of years ago, I was talking to another board member, Carol Fu out of Orlando, who said, "John, you should really, look at this. This is going to make a difference in a lot of children." So I had a couple of excess classrooms that I wasn't using. And I thought, all right, you know what? Maybe my team can start with a kindergarten. That's pretty easy. Hard to mess up anything with kindergarten. And you're coming through from VPK, and we've got that down pat. So, um, I talked to my team. I've got two ladies who help me oversee the company, and we thought, wow, it's exciting. What this is great. We can and we're in a couple of areas where the public schools are just, a little iffy on the reading and the reading levels and whatnot. And I thought, I'm not going to do this if we can't do it better than the public school system. Why, So I looked at it. I thought, well, I think we can. We can do better. And so we thought, all right, let's just start with kindergarten and just the natural progression. We looked at everything. There are a few things that kind of caught us off guard, and I'll share those with you in a minute. And so then, after a while, you start getting siblings, right? Okay, well, I've got a first grader, and as a sibling, and the thing is, people want you to grow these programs. And so here's a couple things, a couple of pointers. Number one, these do not have to be DCF certified classrooms. If you say to DCF, remove this classroom from my capacity calculator, from my license, they will not walk in that classroom and cite you for anything. You are responsible for that classroom as a private academy or as a private school, not as a DCF certified classroom. Now, if you do after school program like we do, then we keep those kids in there sometimes just for some flexibility. We just say just license the classroom anyway for DCF. We'll use it as a private academy, as a private school, and we'll do after school with school readiness children there or whatever. It just makes things a little bit easier. But that is an option. If you don't want to have that classroom license by DCF, you don't have to. Now, there are a couple of things that were interesting, and that was the fire marshal. You have to have two separate fire inspections. It can be done on the same day, but it has to be in the name of the school. There's a different the fire marshal in our counties that we operate in looked at things a little bit differently than he does for DCF only buildings. So it wasn't anything major. I forget exactly what it was, but it wasn't anything major. But the fact that you have to have because we call our preschool something different than we call our academies. I'm a Christian guy. We call our academies Christian academies. It's our big one is Plant City Christian Academy. So, and our preschool is called Plant City Early Learning Academy. So they're two different separate schools, two different DBAs. I keep them separate from the finances and whatnot, just for my own personal, my CPA and whatnot. So for that being said, that's the fire marshal. The other thing that kind of tripped us up a little bit was the health department. You have to have a health department inspection specifically for private schools, which wasn't terrible. For us, if you have a shared kitchen, then that gets a little bit of how much is going for the preschool, and different health inspectors were different. I can't tell you what yours will do in your county, but some of them are like, yeah, fine, I don't even need to look at the kitchen, whatever. And some of them want to do an in-depth dive into the kitchen and make us get licensed through the Department of Health for the kitchen. That was easy. It wasn't a big deal. Um, but the one thing that did trip us up on a couple of our schools is you have to have a water fountain. Somewhere in the building, you have to have a water fountain for the children. And we had to install one. I had $300-400 to install it. I think it was. It wasn't a big deal, but it's something I didn't even think about. And I didn't find out until the very end. And we were rushing around trying to get this thing installed. So those were some of the big things that we looked at. But as far as contracting with Step Up, it was not difficult at all. They have a gentleman who comes out. I forgot his name. He comes out and he just kind of makes sure you are a real school and that you do have a real building and a real classroom and make sure you're legit. But there wasn't anything particularly difficult about this Step Up for Students paperwork. So those are kind of the hints and tips. You have to choose what curriculum you're going to use. We're a Christian school, so we use the Becca curriculum. And they supplement it a little bit with some different teachers will add a few other things here and there that they find interesting. But other than that, Angie, am I missing anything? No. So, what questions, Glenn?
Fantastic. Thank you, John. John, do you happen to know? I'm going to put you on the spot here a little bit. Do you happen to know if that drinking fountain does it need to be permanently affixed to a wall, or can it be a temporary or a one that
No,
you decide like you would have in an office?
yeah, like you have an office. It's just and you can buy them off Amazon for a couple $100, hire a plumber for a couple $100 to install it. I mean, it wasn't a terrible deal, but it was a surprise. But it
That's
has to be
good.
permanently installed.
Fantastic. Fantastic. Well, thank you, John. We are getting a little backed up with some questions in the chat. This is a great time for our folks that are attending that if you do have questions, this is the time that you want to put it in the chat or the Q&A, and we can start addressing those. So thank you very much, John. Much appreciated. The first question, Melissa, I'm going to go back to you. Um, Peggy wants to know, can you elaborate a little bit more on what you mean by home education?
Home education is what's known as homeschool. So these parents are choosing to educate their children, and so they will use various approved curriculums, and they can also contract certain services, whether at a private school. Some of our private schools are now working with the Department of Education to also be hybrid schools, meaning these students, for example, on the PEP scholarship that are being home educated, can go twice a week into one of these participating hybrid schools to go take 2 courses a day there. Hope that answered that.
Fantastic. Thank you. Tina, yes, this is a webinar that is being recorded, and as a follow-up, you'll be getting an email with a copy of this recording, so you can refer back to it as well. Jennifer wants to know, Melissa, do OT, PT, SLP need to give a proof of their profession in order to be able to provide service?
Yes. So anyone providing any of those physical therapy or speech therapy, when they're creating their individual personal account to then join a business, they will be able to upload their licenses, certifications. So we do have a list on our external guides for those particular services of what documentation will have to be uploaded to be able to be approved.
Okay, and Jennifer, I think that answers your question about the certification. If not, resubmit that question. And I think John answered your question about Jennifer asked, do providers need to do extra inspections from the health department, fire department, DCF, or someone else? So Jennifer, I think John answered that question for you. And Nick wants to know, how do I get approved to take in students on these scholarships? Are there continuing education credits? Uh,
Ask that question one more time.
how does he get approved to take in students on these scholarships?
Okay, so you would go through our Emma system. So if you're providing either any of the services that we mentioned, you would first create your account on our platform and then add the various services you are going to offer with their necessary credentials, if any. And then from there, our processing team will process and you will know if you are approved for those particular services.
Thank you, Melissa.
You're welcome.
Does Step Up pay for wraparound care for VPK students after VPK hours?
That is a great question. And one thing I do want to add is for the 24-25 school year, and I don't have any information if that will be updated 25-26, but for the current school year, anyone that has a VPK voucher was able to also use the scholarships, the Unique Ability Scholarship, along with their VPK voucher. So that's great. In the past, it wasn't able to be combined. And so the way that you would do that for these kiddos that are going to stay a full day is you would basically say, my tuition for a 3 or 4 year old is going to be, let's say, $8,000 for the school year. And so then you would do that into quarterly amounts. And that's how you would place it in your services so that the parents can pay for that tuition basically for that school year for that child.
Got it.
So we don't really do the kind of wraparounds lingo. It's more so what is the tuition for a child to be at your center for their full day?
Understood. The next question, can a family apply for Step Up if they receive other funding such as ELC or Family Central?
Yes, so if they are receiving a VPK voucher, they are able to combine it. I do know that there are other items, other sorts of funding that can be combined with the scholarship. We would just have to know what specifically the parent has to be able to identify that.
Okay. Next question is it too early to apply is it too early to apply to offer services for 25-26?
You can go ahead and get started now. Some of our providers are onboarding now to be able to provide summer resources. So you are able to become a provider at any time during the school year.
Jennifer, I think I understand your question. What is the deadline for parents when is the deadline for parents to apply for services? And is there any due date for applying parents?
So right now we don't have our deadline for our other scholarships are going to be towards the end of the year. So we are still open for like our Unique Ability Scholarship and our FTC and EO scholarships. Those applications are still open. The only one that is currently closed is that PEP scholarship on April 30th.
And her follow-up is do fire inspections, health department, are those inspections required for TUU?
I don't know that answer. That is not my realm. I don't know if Mr. Stover has any insight on that.
John, anything?
John is no longer a panelist,
Oh,
so
okay.
let's move on to another question.
Thank you. Thank you, Henry. So how long does it take to get from start to finish to get approved?
For a provider, it should, once you upload your information and provide everything that's necessary, it should not take longer than 2 weeks to have a response whether you are approved or not.
Thank you. With regard to the tutoring scholarship, are all schools entitled to apply?
Yes, correct. Anyone that provides part-time tutoring just has to have the necessary credentials and can be able to provide part-time tutoring.
Peggy, I don't understand your next question. Not a home-based per licensing. Um, Maybe you can elaborate on that and just send it back to us. And the next question from April says, I'm interested in tutoring full-time. Do I have to have a building in order to be a partner?
So for the full-time tutoring specific category, that one does require a valid certificate of occupancy. So again, full-time tutoring at a commercial building. So that is something that is required under that particular category.
Thank you. Dr. Garcia asks, is there a scholarship offered to PK2, PK3 parents, and can they apply for students enrolled in private school?
So our New Worlds Scholarship, which is for public school students only, does cover the VPK grades. And then the Unique Ability Scholarship, where the students are required to have a diagnosis, starts at age 3.
Okay. Marlene, you ask, can you get a direct email and phone number? I'm going to provide those at the end of the presentation, so you will have those in just a little bit. The next question, is there information on reimbursement rates per service provided?
I do not have that information. You set your own rates. We are not able to determine what rates you provide for your services.
Yes. If I have my VPK teachers, can they provide tutoring for reading and math?
If they have the necessary credentials that are required for part-time tutoring, such as a teaching certificate or a bachelor's or master's degree, they would be able to. So they basically have to go through our list for our on our external guide to identify if they have one of those credentials that would allow them under the part-time tutoring.
Okay. I know you covered this, Melissa, but for clarification, isn't Step Up for preschool limited to special needs, though?
It used to be. So the only scholarship that used to cover ages 3 is that Unique Abilities Scholarship. But now that the New World Scholarship was updated with legislation, that one is also starting at the VPK age.
Terrific. And do providers have to renew annually?
It depends. So, yes. So, if, for example, you are providing a part-time tutoring service and you uploaded a teaching certificate, that does expire. So, once you will be notified once it's kind of time to upload your updated certificate, we will let you know. If you do not upload those updated certificates or licenses that expire and things like that, then we will not be able to continue approving you as a provider until we have that updated documentation.
Fantastic. Thank you. Um, I'm wondering if the Unique Ability Scholarship could help encourage resistant parents to seek evaluations. Do you have a flyer or something that we could put out to parents?
We
Um, Go ahead,
we
Melissa.
do we do have I do want to share we do have collateral on our website. So we do have a marketing toolkit on our website, and I can put the link in the chat, Dr. Glenn, if that's okay with you. And that marketing toolkit has resources where you can print some of our flyers. Once you do become an approved provider, you can request to get a free outdoor banner. So if you'd like to advertise that you now work with Step Up, we also provide web banners. So once you're an approved provider, you can put that on your websites that you also work with Step Up. But I will place a link for that marketing toolkit and you can request some flyers there as well.
And Rivka, I'm going to be talking about the Facom therapy portal in just a little bit. And we have both digital and written collateral for your parents as well. So I'll be talking about that in just a little bit. All right. So regarding the fees for care after 3 hours of VPK, when we apply for these services, would we apply under tutoring services? Um,
No, you would do the category under tuition for VPK and school readiness. That is the category that you would use for that.
and Laura asked, do we need the approval from the Department of Education to be approved by Step Up?
Not for services to become a provider only. Now, as Mr. Stover mentioned, if you are serving kindergarten and you're going to be listed as a participating private school, that is a process that you will complete with the Department of Education first to be a participating private school.
Okay. Sorry to keep firing at you, Melissa.
No, it's okay. That's what
We
we're
have
here
quite a
for.
few here. Is summer camp on the Unique Ability Scholarship covered under the school year funding, or there is there other funds available?
So summer programs are covered under various scholarships. So the New Worlds Scholarship can cover a summer or after school program. The Unique Abilities Scholarship can also cover those types of programs. And I believe also the PEP Scholarship can cover summer programs.
And credentials for tutoring, is there a link where folks can go and find out what the credentials requirements
Yes,
are?
I will put that in the chat now. It's in our external guides. Again, we have external guides for all of our service categories. I just posted the one for part-time tutoring. I can also post the one for full-time tutoring if you're interested as well. Just
Fantastic.
note, all scholarships do not cover the full-time tutoring. So just be mindful again of which scholarships cover what.
Great. Next question. In order to provide testing for PEP, PEP scholarship recipients, do I need to be part of an established business or can I be an individual provider?
To offer testing,
In order to provide testing for PEP scholarship.
So the PEP scholarship, those students do have to do testing at the end of each school year. And that list of testing is approved by the Department of Education and listed on their website of what eligible tests are available for those families.
And Melissa, I know what you're going to say to this question, and then you're going to answer, and then I'm going to have some thoughts. But does
Okay.
your school need to be accredited in order to qualify?
So if you are providing your VPK and school readiness service under our service provider, the only thing we will need to see is your Early Learning Coalition contract. And so that is all that is required for that portion.
And of course, I'm going to highly encourage you to become accredited through Apple accreditation. Tanya. All right. So, what ages are eligible for step up scholarships? I have only had experience with it beginning with kindergarten and up. Are pre-K or preschool students able to get scholarships?
Okay, so again, the two scholarships that only cover that VPK age group is the Unique Ability Scholarship. So those students have to have a specific diagnosis in order to qualify for that particular scholarship. And then the New Worlds Scholarship will be for any child that is in a public setting that is looking to get assistance for math or reading. VPK is also covered for that.
Okay. All right.
Glenn, if it's helpful, I can read out a couple of questions here.
Surely, Henry, I would appreciate your help. Absolutely.
Okay. So we have a question here from Alexa. The question is, do families with the Unique Abilities Scholarship have to attend a Step Up for Students provider school, or can they submit their receipts for reimbursements for non-EMA schools?
So anyone that's on the Unique Ability Scholarship, the two first requirements are that they either have to be enrolled at an eligible private school or they have to be homeschooling. So once they're in either of those two categories, they can use their leftover funds for the additional resources such as horse therapy, music, tutoring, technology, and other services that are approved under that scholarship program.
Excellent. Thank you.
You're welcome.
All right, another question here from Ella. The question is, can the curriculum that center uses be any curriculum or state approved? And is there available a list of provided services to parents?
Yes, so our parents have access to their platform in Emma that not only gives them a provider section where they can search for approved providers, but it also gives them access to what we have as My Scholar Shop. And My Scholar Shop is basically our Amazon for all of our approved materials. So parents are able to go there and already seek out what curriculums are already approved, where they can basically just select that curriculum. They know it's approved and then it's taken from their scholarship dollars once they purchase it. Now, if a parent does not see a curriculum that they're interested, what they will go through is a process called a pre-authorization request. So in their portal, they will fill out that pre-authorization request, providing information on that particular curriculum, and then we will let them know if it's a curriculum that can be approved. That way the parent is not paying for something without knowing if they are going to be able to get reimbursed for.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
All right, so we have a question here. We understand the PEP window is closed for this year. When does it typically reopen for the next cycle?
We are looking to potentially open for the next year, 26, 27. Is that correct? The years are just flying by. We potentially will be opening in February. However, right now we do have an interest list on that portal section of the PEP scholarship. So we highly encourage those families that are interested in PEP to join that interest list so they get all the updates once the scholarship is available again.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
All right. Question here from Mari. Is summer camp on the Unique Abilities Scholarship covered under the school year funding, or are there other funds available?
Yes, they can use their unique abilities leftover dollars to cover summer programs.
All right, thank you. I think we're starting to get to the bottom of our question list here. Let's see here. All right, we have a question from Barbara. Do you have to renew every year or once you sign up? Or so yes, do you have to renew every year or is this just a one-time thing and you
It
automatically renew?
it all depends on the service that you're going to be providing. So some of the services, if they require credentials and those credentials that you uploaded expire, we will notify you that that credential is going to be expiring soon and to upload your updated information so that we can continue having you as an approved provider. If you do not upload your updated documentation, then your account, you will not be an approved provider until you do provide any updated information.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
All right. Can the part-time tutoring provider also use the curriculum that you stated? That's from April.
Um, I'm not I would have to know a little bit more to answer that. I'm not sure what she means by use the curriculum.
Okay, April, if you can clarify that, we'll try to get you a response. All right, question from Tanya. In terms of payment, what is the pay scale for these scholarships? All schools have a different tuition scale. How much do they cover through the scholarships?
Thank you. That's a great question. So each of the scholarship programs, the amounts vary based on county and grade level of the student. For example, our Unique Abilities Scholarship is an average of $10,000. Now, if the child has a matrix score higher than 254, that scholarship amount increases tremendously. So you could see a child with a $20,000 scholarship or even more. With our private school scholarships, those are an average about $8,000. Same with the PEP scholarship, they mimic the same amount. And then the New World Scholarship is a little over $1,000 that they get for the school year.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
All right. Is it correct that the parent is awarded a flat amount for the year, regardless of the rates set by the preschool?
That is correct. So the parent receives their scholarship amount. If the tuition of their preschool or their private school is higher than what the scholarship provides, the parent will have to arrange with that particular school to pay out of pocket for the remaining fees.
Thank you. Question from Wanda. Does a child need a disability to qualify for pre-K2 through VPK?
If they are applying under the Unique Abilities Scholarship, yes. The New World Scholarship, no.
Thank you. Question from Jennifer. Do we need to send attendance records for any of the scholarships?
Not if you're just a service provider. There is now, if you're becoming a private participating private school, that does work a little differently with the Department of Education. But with becoming a provider, you're not enrolling any student in our system. The parents are the ones that are creating and generating the service orders for that tuition.
Thank you. All right, here's a question from Tiffany. What is acceptable as a diagnosis for a child to be eligible for the Unique Abilities Scholarship? A physician letter versus an IEP, etc.
Great question. So either of those documents are acceptable. So if the student does have an IEP, the family can upload that when they are applying for us to verify the student's diagnoses, or a letter from a licensed physician or psychologist stating the child's diagnosis is also sufficient. Some doctors will also write a diagnosis on a prescription pad, and that is an approved way to verify the student's diagnoses.
All right. I think we have time for about two more questions. So here's one from, well, here's the question. For wraparound, you mentioned adding tuition by quarter. Does that mean that schools won't receive payment for the service until the quarter is finished, meaning receiving monies 3 months in arrears?
So the way it would work is, for example, if you are stating that for a 3 or 4 year old at your center, you charge $8,000 for the year, for that school year, we actually distribute the funds 4 times within that year. So it would, if the scholarship that they are receiving is $8,000, for example, you would divide that by four, and that is the amount that you would get. So if your tuition is higher than their scholarship amount, you would know that you would just be getting their scholarship dollars divided into those four amounts. And so our distributions typically it's September. Don't quote me on this. We have it on our website, but it's the September would be the first quarter payment, and then we do September, October, November, January, February, and then May is the fourth quarter.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
And we've had a few questions along this vein, so I think this is a great one to wrap up with. The question is, we're a year-round preschool through second grade. We offer programming over the summer as well, essentially. So will our summer be covered as a school or a summer program?
It would be, oh, sorry, go ahead.
And then just the last question is, are field trips covered as part of it as well?
Some of the scholarships do cover field trips. Again, those you'd be able to see those different categories for field trips as to which scholarships cover field trips. And then since you are a year round, you would first do two types of categories as your services. You would do a summer program to cover your summer portion. And then you would do, your basic school year for your VPK category tuition.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Terrific. Thank you, Henry, for jumping in and helping me with that long list of questions. Much appreciated. But before we wrap up today, I'd like to take a few minutes to highlight another resource available to you through Facom, and that's our therapy portal. It's developed in partnership with My Bonham. The portal connects families with qualified therapy providers for services like speech, occupational, and behavioral therapies, services that can be life-changing but are often hard for families to access. So it's simple for families to sign up at the beginning and start to get the support that they need. And it's a fantastic way for your center to support child development beyond the classroom. So to get started, all you need to do is take a look at what Henry put on the screen here. It's a QR code that's going to take you directly to our portal. Another way to get there is if you go to www.facom.org and click on the blue icon in the top left-hand corner. It'll take you right to the therapy portal. We encourage you to save this flyer, share it with your families. Like I mentioned earlier, we have both digital and printed collateral for you to use. You can put it at your front desk. You can use it for open houses. You can send it digitally directly to your families. So I encourage you to take a look at the QR code, take a picture of it, go directly to the portal, and you'll be able to have both your center, but especially your families sign up for that therapy portal. So highly, highly, highly recommend you go there and check it out. So before we close, I want to extend a big thank you to Melissa for sharing her expertise today. Sorry to put you on the hot seat, but you were able to answer many of those questions very, very well. So thank you for that. We hope this webinar gave you some practical insights into how Step Up for Students can benefit your school or your center and the families that you serve. Please be on the lookout for a follow-up email which will include a recording of the session today, links to additional resources, information on how to connect with both FACM and Melissa at Step Up, and a quick survey. We'd love to hear your input on today's sessions, on today's session. So finally, if you are a FACM member, and if you're not a FACM member, I would encourage you to become a FACM member. Please mark your calendar for next Wednesday, June 11th, when we will be hosting our inaugural virtual member forum. During this forum, we will share key updates on FACM's advocacy work, some upcoming events, and the latest developments impacting Florida's early childhood education community. You'll hear directly from the FACM and the Apple team about the progress we're making, opportunities that you can take advantage of, and how we're representing your voice statewide. So if you're not currently a FACM member, we encourage you to join today so that you can access opportunities like our upcoming member forum. To become a member, simply scan the QR code on the screen and fill out the corresponding form, or go directly to facm.org and sign up there. So thank you again for being here. I personally hope that you got something out of today's session. On the screen is both Melissa and my direct contact information. But again, you will get this in the recording, so you'll have access to this shortly. So we look forward to continuing to support your success in whatever venture that looks like. Thank you again. Have a great day.
Thank you, everyone.